Alright, hello. Good morning from Sweden. Yeah, we're gonna be running Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. And with me on the couch I have two friends. Wanna introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Aishma. I also run this game.
I'm Dominic. I composed the music for this game.
Yep, yeah. So yeah, all the bangers you're gonna be hearing are all his work. So look forward to it.
I think we will be talking quite a bit about that during the run, actually.
Alright, so yeah, the time is gonna start when we start the first stage after the setup for the first stage. So we're gonna start from the clean file. You might be wondering why we're doing this in simplified Chinese, because, well, it's not because we are fluent in the simplified Chinese, but it's because it's faster for text boxes and stuff. About 20 seconds time save compared to
That's a lot of seconds.
Yeah, that's a lot of seconds.
I mean, compared to how long the run is, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So
you want to do the honors?
Yep. Yeah, I can count you down. So yeah, just slam the button when I on 3, 2, 1 go. So 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so yeah, this is Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. As you can probably already tell by the art of the game, this harkens back to actually the Sega Genesis kind of consoles. Like, think Shinobi, but you know, in a retro-inspired setting here. This is Moonrider, our main character that Kirthar is going to be controlling. He's actually not in control of the character just yet. This is like a little intro sequence where you just quickly get familiarized with the movement of Moonrider. And the most important button that Kirthar will be holding down all throughout the run is basically the run button. And out of the run, he can do this slash that you just saw do there. This is basically one of Moonrider's most damaging attacks that he can do, so we'll use that a lot throughout the run. And a nice little technique there, if you actually do this running slash onto these handrails that he's using, you get a little bit of a speed boost. It saves like a second or two, but you know, you like to optimize that. And we're already on to the first mini-boss of the run, which will be this laser cannon and this barrier that the scientist. Now, what we're trying to do here is that you have to destroy the shield by having the laser fire at it. So what Kirthar is going to do is having to time his jumps very precisely, that when the cannon actually fires, it hits the shield. But also for every 4th hit that the cannon takes, it fires another shot onto the shield by itself. And by combining these, basically doing 3 slashes during the first jump, then having the cannon shoot the shield, then immediately slashing the cannon again for a second shot, you can get rid of that shield very, very quickly here. Now, there's still a soldier that he just jumped over there. It's very hard to do that trick because the ceiling is very low, so there's a very high chance to get hit there. And again, with this wall jump right here, you have to be very precise at timing to actually get that. Now, here we're actually gonna go out of way to pick up a little secret, which will be this chip that you can actually probably tell if you read the text over here. Now, this is the MP region chip. What this does, as the name implies, like every 5 seconds or so, Kirthar will regenerate 1 of his MP points, which you can see in the blue bar in the top left corner there. Now, the MP allow us to use our sub-weapons, like the Moon Spear, which is this blue laser kind of spear thing that you can see Kirthar use. So here we will take a short damage boost through the electricity here, so we don't have to go up over the left. And then we're actually into the real first boss fight of the game, which will be Queen. Queen you can actually only damage when she has opened her mouth. And she will do that periodically throughout the fight, just like this. However, at the first part of the fight, Kirthar will actually jump into 4 slashes onto her right hand. And then he will wait until she opens her mouth. And then do very precise jumps and slashes with the Moon Spear and his normal weapon to get rid of Queen. Now, if you wouldn't have killed the boss right then and there, only 1 more slash on her right hand would have destroyed the hand, and then she would open her mouth immediately again so he could finish the fight then and there. However, that would lose like, I don't know, 5 seconds or something like that, maybe 8 seconds rather. However, he did get the 1 cycle, so that was a pretty clean first stage. I mean, a couple minor mistakes, but nothing too major that we'll worry about. And this is where we actually get into like a bit of the Mega Man kind of setting of the game, because we can actually now select the next 7 stages in any order. First of all, will be Little City. And this is kind of where, in my chat, you know, all the jam emotes are starting to come out. Because, as we said, Dominic did the soundtrack for this game. It is phenomenal. So if I go ahead and watch back this VOD on Twitch and I don't see cat jams throughout the whole of this run, I'm going to be very cross with you. So go ahead and do that. Now, this motorbike section is a little bit of an auto-scroller, but not really. Because the goal here is to defeat all the enemies that actually try to fight you. Now, you will see some of the enemy motorcyclists, like just run past Kirthar. And he doesn't have to kill those. They actually do not matter. He only has to fight the enemies that actually stay on screen. Because if you don't kill them, the stage will actually not progress forward. So it's a little bit of an auto-scroller, but also a little bit not. But since it's an auto-scroller, it gives us a little bit of time to talk about the soundtrack. Now, Dominic, I don't exactly know when you actually joined this project. So, like, if it was at the start or in the middle?
It was at the start.
At the start right away?
I joined it before Blazing Chrome was even completed.
Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah.
That is, like, way back. Like, can you tell us a little bit, like, what were, like, the themes you were going for with the soundtrack? Like, did you have, or was there even any gameplay that you can base your themes off of?
There was, like, a little bit of gameplay. It was mostly just, like, an empty room to try out the movement. That was about it.
Fair enough.
That's when I started. But I don't, like, at first the soundtrack was supposed to be more Mega Drive inspired, but then we wanted to try and change it up a little bit, have it more like CD quality.
Was like the design for Moonrider already set in so you knew how it looked like, and he actually based it off a little bit around that?
His sprite sheet was basically complete.
Okay, cool.
Very early on, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I got to see a lot of like concept art that Danilo sent me, so there was still a lot of things to base this sound on.
But you already knew that you were like going for like a little bit of an Asian vibe,
yeah,
because like, you can hear like something.
It's like
down, right?
Like Japanese, like inspired synthwave kind of techno, a little bit of everything.
I mean, to be fair, the reason why I run this game is because Moonrider to me looks a bit like a samurai.
Yeah,
and I kind of like do the whole samurai thing. And when I saw trailers for this game, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pick this up at one point. But then I heard the soundtrack, and I was like, I have to immediately go and buy this game as soon as it releases, because the soundtrack is just that good. Anyway, we are on to the boss of this first half of the stage. What Kirthar is going to do here, he is timing his movement to the left and right, like exactly to be on par with the boss, so he doesn't lose any of his shots. Because if you are not like in sync with the enemy, the targeting system will actually fall off of him, and it will, you know, not hit him with a couple of your shots, which doesn't lose you a lot of time, but you know, it will start adding up over the course of the run. And we are now at the point where like each second counts if you're actually trying to go for world record. We are now in the second half of this level, and you know, Kirthar will just make his way across all of these vehicles. Now, if you fall between the gaps between the vehicles, you will actually not die compared to a game like, say, Mega Man. But you will lose a little bit of health and start back on the last, like, hard ground, whatever the game considers to be that, like the next big vehicle or something like that. So it's actually not that hard to get through the stage. However, there are these flying enemies that they will see in just a bit, and of course they are programmed in a way that they try to actively inhibit your progress. So if they see that you're going to jump, they will actively move into your way. Like you can see right here, like these 4 flying enemies, they are the worst enemies in this stage, if not the game, because they made us fall in these gaps so often. Nobody can count it anymore. You can see these enemies with the shields here. Now, you cannot actually kill these enemies with your normal sword unless you, go behind them, hit them there. However, the Moon Spear pierces through their shield, and that is why Kirthar is going to use his Moon Spear here to get rid of them. Now, he's fighting these 2 robots. They have quite a bit of health. So what he's trying to do here is kill, not really kill, but reduce the health of the robot on the right to about half until he splits in 2. Then he goes on to the left robot, and now, hopefully, he will kill them at about the same time. Oh, okay. Good. Because the problem with this is if he kills them at the exact same time, the game may actually soft lock, as he found out during practice. So it's a little bit of a scary point. You try not to kill them at the same time, but you kind of want to kill them at the same time because obviously it's going to be the fastest way possible to progress through the stage. And we're actually approaching the the next boss fight actually, which will be Photon Drifter. Now, Photon Drifter is probably one of the more infamous bosses in the run because we don't have any other sub-weapons than the Moon Spear at this point. So Kirthar is going to do a running slash against him while he's still standing on the ground. And once Photon Drifter goes to the far left of the screen, Kirthar will basically stand in front of him and just Moon Spear him to death. You can see that health bar on the upper right, they just completely get melted by Moon Spear. And that was a pretty good fight.
Yeah. Pretty happy about that.
But yeah, that is kinda how the rest of this run is gonna work out actually, because I don't want to say the bosses are complete pushovers, but we will get the right tools for the job, like the Photon Dash that we'll acquire after this stage, which is like one of the most broken sub-weapons in the game, because it's the trifecta of speedrunner bliss, right? It's a dash that propels you forward, so you save time. It deals a buttload of damage to anything it touches, and it makes you invincible in the meantime. So we're going to heavily abuse that. The next stage you're going to select is going to be Asura's Fleet, and it is one of my favorite songs. I know you feel a bit differently about that, I think.
No, I mean, it's fine.
It's a good one, but it's not your favorite, I think, right?
No, it's not my favorite, or the one that I'm most happy with it, but it's
good. I mean, I think this
Fine.
was actually the song for me that pushed me over there. I was like, okay, I have to get this now. So I'm just going to actually just shut up and let you listen to it for just a moment before we're going to resume here. Okay, the hard part about this stage is actually all these moving platforms that you saw, they are on a global cycle. So as soon as Kirthar loaded into level, they started moving. Which means that if Kirthar just does any little bit of a mistake, like all these cycles will be off, meaning that he will probably have to wait and lose a little bit of time in between, you know, moving between these platforms. This was actually a mini-boss that he just killed there. In previous patches of the game, you could just use 2 of these photon dashes to actually reach the next platform after the mini-boss and completely skip him. However, in the most recent patch, this sadly has been patched out, so we now actually have to fight them, but you saw how quickly Kirthar actually got rid of that one, so it's not a major time loss, I want to say. And we are on to the boss of this half of the stage, will be this huge robotic cat floating around here. Kirthar will just hang on to the hand rolling there, do a couple of slashes, then dodge this charge attack off it, get back onto the railing, and while he's shooting these lasers, he will just dash it through the head and damage it in the process. And then it's just a couple more slashes until this thing actually goes down. And yeah, we will be on to the second half of the level. So, speaking again about the soundtrack there, which would you say is like your most favorite creation for the soundtrack, so we can listen to it once it rolls around?
I would say one song that I'm really happy with is the Fallen City. First act. The first act of Fallen City. I also pretty happy with the final boss track. And Space Station is pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can definitely agree with those picks. Now, the sad thing about most of the soundtrack is because, yeah, it's a speedrun. We tend to rush through these stages like very quickly, as you've probably seen already, unless it's like an auto-scroller with this elevator section right here. Sadly, you don't get to hear a lot of the soundtrack. However, I think you get enough of an idea of what it's about and how good it is, that it should cue you in that you know, should go to Steam, Bandcamp, or whatever, and go ahead and buy that soundtrack right now. While we are dealing with the next mini-boss here, which will be this big guy, which is hopefully a total pushover, and we get a 1 cycle here.
Oh
God, he did that in practice as well.
Yeah.
Because what actually you can do here is, as long as he's still in the lower right corner there, if you just hammer the dash button quickly enough, this guy will actually die right here, and he will do nothing. Like, at all. He won't be able to attack or get a single attack off. However, sometimes you're just mashing a little bit too slow, and then he gets to do stuff where he goes all the way over to the left side of the screen, doesn't go to because he can't actually down the left side of the screen. He has to be on the right side of the screen in order to die. Now, this is one of the other armor chips that Kirthar can pick up. This is the Soul Eater. So we have now 2 chips equipped, which is the maximum that you can equip at the same time out of the 16 that you can pick up over the course of the run. Now, keep in mind, in the first level, we picked up the MP regen chip, which passively regenerates MP, and now we have the Soul Eater. What the Soul Eater does, every time you kill an enemy, you can see these blue orb kind of things flow out of an enemy, and those replenish our MP again. So we have even more MP regeneration now, so we can use our sub-weapons even more liberally. Another thing to touch on is you saw that we can now select the stages. So the order in which we tackle the stages kind of has to do with the sub-weapons we get at the end of them, kind of not. Now, you might think this is like Mega Man, where a boss is like weak to a sub-weapon of another boss. However, that is actually not the case. Like, the difference in the sub-weapons is actually just, you know, what the difference in them is. Like, you know, you get the dash, we will get the Storm Chaser after this one, which is absolutely useless. Spoiler. But, yeah, this is like kind of still routed around that.
Everyone is weak to Photon Dash, right?
I think that was one of the first things that we noticed, or rather, I think it was the second one, because first of all, we did I think the Lost Ruins first, or very early, because the Tentacle, the Dark Portal,
that one also
was
does a lot of damage.
Really good, like really, really good. It got nerfed a little bit because it costs more MP to use now, which is why it has fallen off a little bit out of our favor. However, for some reason, the Photon Dash just stayed completely untouched by any of the balance patches, so just abused the hell out of it. Like you can see here, like 3 of those dashes and these wall turret things are just completely gone. And now we are on to Asura. You know, this is Asura's fleet. So this is Asura, the boss. So say hi, Asura. Bye, Asura. And then we actually get to the real boss of the stage, who will be Stormdiver. Now we're going to use or abuse her AI a little bit by running up to her and doing a slash. And if Kirthar does this correctly, she will face to the right side, through the wall. For the rest, yeah, just like that. And what that makes is she will just rise up against the wall and will just jump up, use Photon Dash, and dash until she is dead. If that AI manipulation does not work, she will just fly over to the left side of the screen, which loses you about 2 to 3 seconds. But then we just go ahead and do the same strategy there. You know, she just died to the left side of the right side. That's the only difference that AI manipulation does. Speaking of Lost Ruins, though, that will be the next stage that we go into. And it is a very technical stage, but it looks so good if you do it right. Oh, but if you just mess up a little bit, things can get a little bit iffy. So we will see how it works, because it is very hard to do. Like, this is one of the most scary parts of the run, I want to say. Not because you are in any danger of necessarily dying. It just, you know, every little mistake just starts losing you more and more time because of the cycles that are going on. At the start here, we're going to use a lot of Photon Drift again to just dash through these enemies and a couple of precise jumps over these platforms. Then we're going to use this dive kick against the spider enemy to propel us upwards to these platforms. A couple dashes over the pitfalls here. We're going to go to the right and start this cutscene trigger with the zombie enemy transformation. But Kirthar actually went to left and refilled his HP and MP there. A couple dashes over these spikes and another, you know, dive kick right here. Get us through those. And here we actually go to this crumbling platform, do 1 slash as a timing incentive, and then dive kick off these flying enemies, which will propel us all the way up this shaft, because otherwise we had to go all the way to the right, use another platform to rise up, and then go back to the left before we get back to the shaft again. But through these series of dives, we can just completely skip that. And now we are on to the mini-boss of this stage. Now we will actually just run up to the submarine, do 3 running slashes to hit both parts at the lower part here, and then just up on top of it, a couple crouching slashes, get rid of the first phase. And once it attaches itself to the wall, Kirthar will just jump up and dash through the brain like 4 or 5 times, and that is the mini-boss done. Easy as that. If you don't know the strategy, this mini-boss can actually take a lot of time, as you may know from your casual playthroughs if you played this game already. Now the second part of Lost Ruins is like this switch maze where you have to hit certain switches to open up different colored doors. However, we recently found this skip that Kirthar is gonna do here. We're gonna use this enemy and manipulate him to go into a very specific point. I think it's just one more. Yeah, okay, you got it. Nice. Because the enemy has to be at a very specific point, so you can go ahead and do this dive kick off of him to go up this shaft. Because normally you have to go all the way to the lower floor, hit more switches, go to a very slow water section, and this nailing this saves about 25 to 30 seconds, because you skip like half of the stage there. This is Dark Chaser, the boss of the Lost Ruins. Now you can already probably tell by this little floaty thing in the background there that she has a shield around her, which will make it so that he actually doesn't take damage now. So we need a couple of normal slashes to get rid of that. She will teleport a little bit around here, but as soon as her attack ends, yeah, okay, that is that thing broken, and now we can actually go ahead and damage her after she gets out of this hand-holding animation. So once he... Right now he's immediately doing a running slash to damage her, then a couple photon dashes whilst he is, you know, doing this dive kick right there, and that is the boss already done. Like, if you're not doing fast commentary, you know, telling your inner Argic to the most effect, you're not able to go anywhere here, because all the stages go by so quickly. Anyway, after this fight, we will now get the Dark Portal sub-weapon, which is the tentacle that we talked about a little bit earlier. And again, it was a very broken sub-weapon in the beginning stages of the game that we heavily abused, because you can see right here, it deals damage all the way through, so like it deals like 2 or 3 ticks on the way when it goes there, and another 2 or 3 when it retracts, and it just shredded bosses. Like, this was the weapon that we used before you found out how broken the Photon Dash actually is. Now we are on to the next stage, which will be the laser research facility, and it is probably one of the hardest stages in the game because everything just deals a buttload of damage to you. So if you're just gonna be in a very bad spot here, you can die very quickly, which, you know, sets you back to the last checkpoint, which loses you a lot of time. So at the first start here, we'll do a lot of dashes to get through these parts pretty quickly, and then we will face one of the tank enemies, for lack of a better word, that require that have quite a high health. Sorry. That is one right here. So we will dash through it and do a running slash on the way back. And then the same thing again while it's on the left side of the screen, and then a couple more slashes, and that thing is hopefully done. But as you can see, like, we lost about a fourth of our health by one of the hits of those things. So if that fight takes a little bit longer than anticipated, you can be in a very bad spot. The Kirthar just a little while back here did a very precise wall jump to, like, kind of skip having to go the right and up there. And we're already on to the next tank fight, which, as you can see, is a little bit more scuffed because he is very low on health now. He does not want to die because after he kills that thing, there will be a health pickup. So, ooh, that was clutch. And we're on to the actual mid-boss of the stage, will be Shingen. He's like this other, like, Ronin samurai kind of character with two swords. Now, Kirthar will actually just go a couple steps forwards until his little indentation in the ground, stand his ground, do a couple, or his normal slash combo, which will be 3 or 4 slashes right there. And after that, he will just go ahead and dash through the guy, and he is done. Again, photon dash. It's a pretty good thing to have to go through the whole thing. And we are on to the second part of the level here, which will be the inside of the laser research facility. And there will be a lot of cycle-based stuff here. Now, I really love this dive kick of this enemy. This will tell you up to the next platform where you can just wall jump off onto the moving platform and just dash your way up. It is so satisfying to do if you get that in a run. It's so good. And now we get to the real obstacle in this level, which will be these laser barriers. Again, they deal quite a bit of damage if you get touched by them, so you want to try and be on this cycle, because if you are fast enough there, you can just fall down this whole shaft without getting hit by the lasers in between. And we're on to the next mini-boss, which is this huge creature thing in the background of it. You can only hit the blue orb on its chest when it opens. So what Kirthar is doing here, doing a couple normal slash, and the second time it opens, he will actually use the Dark Portal to do a lot of damage to it. And hopefully this will be a 3-side kill, and there we go. That is very tight to get. Now normally we would use a lot more of the Dark Portal, separate from the Tentacle, but since it has been patched, it uses a lot more MP to use, so we only get like 2 or 3 uses out of it. But because we already used our dashes to get here, we only get like 1 use for this boss fight now. So that is why we had to change our strategies a little bit. Now we're onto this big laser section, and I think just 3 of those lasers can kill you. However, Kirthar is going to abuse the invincibility frames he gets from the photon dash to not only damage these laser blockade thingies, I don't know what to call them, so he doesn't get hit by the laser, but also uses a couple of invincibility frames after the photon dash ends to go ahead and damage these things even more. Because obviously you want to try and get rid of these barriers as soon as possible just so you can progress through the level here. This is the last barrier that we have to go through. Once that is done, the laser is gone, and we are on to the next boss, which will be Geocrusher. Now, Geocrusher is a very interesting boss in that we will try to manipulate his AI again. Now, what Kirthar will do, he will run up to Geocrusher and jump behind him. Once he is behind him, Geocrusher will go ahead and punch him once, and if you get hit, like, Moonrider will fall back a little bit, but he'll also be lifted off of the ground just a tad. And while he's lifted up on the ground, Kirthar will actually go ahead and do the dash against the wall again, because if you are in the air, what Geocrusher will do is he will try to rising kick you, which means he will be in the air. And if you kill him in the air, he actually will not transition into a second phase, because he can only transition into a second phase if he is standing on the ground. And if he does that, you lose a bunch of time because he will be invulnerable during that time, so you cannot hit him, you cannot end the fight, and you're sitting there and being sad. However, that didn't happen, and we now have Geocrash. Geocrash is another broken ability, I want to say. However, this little sequence here doesn't actually show you how good this attack is, because how Geocrash actually works is the higher you are before you use it on the screen, or rather, if you use Geocrash during a fall, Moonrider will fall to the ground and hit it very hard, and that will actually make Geocrash deal more damage. So we actually want to go ahead and use Geocrash while we are in the air, not while we're on the ground. And now we have to Fallen Runes. You said this was your favorite track of the soundtrack, so we just give it a little bit of a listen here. Right. As you can probably already tell, we have to deal with these barriers that shoot up out of the ground. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Contra. And Kirthar was just using the Geocrash like all the time to just immediately get rid of them with like one usage by jumping like really up high into the air, using a Geocrash and dealing damage to that wall like all the way down. There's also this little enemy in the ground, and I guess you can already all tell who's going to be the mini-boss of this stage right here, because it's that enemy. And what we're doing here is actually called a float crash. Now, I've told you that when we use Geocrash in the air, like Moonrider will just fall down and deal a lot of damage during that animation. However, if you use 2 dive kicks while you are in the Geocrash falling animation, Moonrider will actually start floating in the air while the Geocrash animation is still happening around him, which means that you will deal damage to any enemy that touches you. Like, I don't think it's every frame, but every possible instance that you can deal damage to them. However, not only does it deal passively deal damage through this aura to the enemy, Kirthar can also still slash enemies. You can basically, even increase your damage output even more by doing that. It's a little bit of a glitch / bug abuse, but thankfully it's still in the game. So we're speedrunners who like to do or keep using those stuff. And this is actually going to be a little bit of silence time here.
I think you got it.
Yeah, nice! I mean, as you can probably tell, this is not intended. Because the room that we've been staring on for like 20 seconds or so is where you would have the final fight against this big-ass robot. However, by just wall climbing to the left of the wall, you are able to get to the escape sequence, so to speak, that would happen after you kill the robot. Now, obviously, since the game is locked into that room, he has to do this all off-screen, so that is why he needs the audio cues to know how many wall jumps and hanging rail sequences he has actually done to get up there. So you have to memorize all of that, and that's why he needs the audio cues to know how many of these jumps he has done. In the meantime, this was Flamestalker. It was another boss. we dashed through him, he dies. I guess.
The real boss of that level was the skip.
Absolutely. I think it took way longer than all the boss fights combined so far. So. Anyway, we get the Flame Ring out of it, and this sub-weapon is absolutely useless. Like, I don't think any of us ever used it. I mean, I haven't even used it during my cat. I don't know, I already had like Photon Dash or whatever. So I was just going ahead and use that. And with that, we're actually going on to the last selectable, one of the first selectable missions, which will be the desalination facility, where we go on ahead and fight Hydromancer. And obviously, we haven't been to a proper water level yet, so this is that. And you can probably already tell what Kirthar's going to do. He's going to use a lot of dashes to get through this level, keeping an eye onto his MP to make sure he has enough dashes to get through the next couple of sections. Actually gonna grab refill here, and then his dive kick into the water, and off this enemy to actually propel him up to this next platform, because we are in water now, so Moonrider's movement is slowed down a lot, which means you want to use as much dash as you can. There's a nice little skip here. As you can see this barrier going down, but if you use 2 photon dashes very quickly back to back, you are actually able to just rush beneath it, and you do not get locked into that room where you had to have a mandatory fight. Now, against this mini-boss, we're using another float crash with a couple slashes, and that thing should die. Yeah. I think it was a little bit too high, so your slashes didn't actually
my slashes
connect.
didn't hit, but...
So that lowered our DPS a little bit, because normally this thing should die during the float crash. Now, onto the second part of the desalination facility, we are going to have a little bit of a lever puzzle here, where you have to manipulate the water level to go up and down certain sections of it. However, again, we're speedrunners, we don't like doing that as much. We want to have it simple, so we're going to skip a lot of it. What is going to happen now once Kirthar goes down the next sections here? He will go a little bit further to left to spawn an enemy in the upper left corner. Then he will hit that switch and use a dive kick off of that enemy. And if you hold down the jump button, you will actually rise higher, so that platform that comes down with the water will not block your way. So you can go all the way up without having to rise the water level again, which means that there will be no water in that corridor and also no enemies. And since there's no water, you move at the normal speed, which means you will actually go faster through that part. And yeah, just progress to the level onto the next mini-boss, which will be the Mermaid, for lack of a better term. I don't know if it has an actual name. But we're going to use the Geocrash again, you know, crash onto her. And then we're actually going to do a running jump on her back. And since the running jump elevates you off the ground a little bit, we can immediately go to another jumping Geocrash right off of her. And that was quite alright. Another dive kick, sorry. I hate this enemy in particular. Like, if you're a little bit too close to him, you cannot slash the projectile he fires at you, and he will just kick you back a little bit, which is just... Also, that fish has killed so many runs of so many different runners, because if he spawns it a little bit early, he can just hit you off of that platform into the spikes, and you're just gonna have a good time there. 2 more dashes, then we have to actually hit this switch, even though we can just use our wall jump to rise up, because we need the water at this level to actually start the boss fight. Otherwise, he would have had to hit this switch to make the wall level be at the right level to actually go into the boss fight room. Now, this is Hydromancer. What Kirthar will do here is he will jump into the middle platform, do a running slash against Hydromancer, just, you know, lower his HP a little bit. Then Hydromancer will reappear in the upper left corner, and from there, Kirthar will just jump up, I think use 2 slashes, and then just dash until that guy is done. Alright, and that is it. And that is all the main stages of the game done. So we are now into the end game, and it will start off with another auto-scroller section, another bike section that we've already seen in Yvonne City. So we have time for whatever our host wants to tell us.
Thank you. Whatever I want to talk about?
Whatever you want. You have about 2 minutes.
Well, we have a donation from Hapkain Name for $20 saying, I'm Captain Hap from Rosenborg, and I'm here to tell you, don't listen to Ondor's lies. This is going towards the Final Fantasy III any percent character name incentive. Bid war. But make sure that you donate towards any bid wars or incentives. This is your chance to make your voice heard. Keep donating. Make sure to keep the select the incentive, select the bid war. It's your turn again.
All right. Yeah, this is like the second or third auto-scroller, the second bike section. And just a little bit here, there will be these trucks, and I absolutely hate them. Because the problem with this is, you can probably already tell by Kirthar's special ability, you know, when he shoots out these snaking laser ball thingy here. The problem with these trucks in particular is, you can hit the truck with your normal shots wherever the truck is. You know, it actually has a hitbox that extends all the way to the truck. However, for some reason, if you use your special ability, it will only be able to hit that little soldier at the end of it. Which means that if you are perfectly aligned with the truck at the back of it, and you use your special ability, it will completely miss. Which is just... why? Which basically means that if you want to use your ability or your special behind the truck, you have to be a little bit off center, so it actually has a chance to hit that soldier which you're actually trying to kill, instead of the truck itself. And we are really coming up onto the very good parts of the OST, I want to say. Like, especially the next section with the space elevator. Do you want to talk a little bit about that one?
The space elevator?
Yeah.
I would say, I think I don't remember if I wrote that track before I wrote this one, but they both share elements of each other. I kind of wanted it to be like, and there's a little bit of parts from this and the next track also in the space station tracks. I wanted there to be like something to connect them all, but they're their own tracks, I would say. But yeah.
A little bit of a spoiler, I guess, here at this point. Like, I said, we're on to the last 2 stages, which will be the space elevator, which we're making our way into. And how could a game like this end but in space, right? So we are actually on our way to a space station at the end, which Dominic just alluded to here. But like, how is the progress on actually the space station like track? Because it's absolutely one of my favorites, and I think a lot of other people too.
I wanted it to sound kind of like the first level of the, like it has a lot of, it has a callback to the first level.
The research facility.
Yeah, but it's like more of a like grand finale vibe to it.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Speaking of grand finale, this is Sunseeker. He's actually the last boss of the game. We are having a little bit of a bike out here. I don't know. We are trying to obviously hit him with our special like that, but he is a little dodgy bastard, as he showcased quite phenomenally. So you have, At the best of times, you won't hit him with 5 of your specials because you have enough MP, if your MP bar is full, to shoot 4 specials out. Ever since the fight against them takes so long on the bike, you actually have enough time to regenerate enough MP to use a 5th one right after. And as I said, like, I really like this theme because, you know, it has like this rising tension to it because, you know, you are on an elevator. So the higher up you go, the more elements get added to the soundtrack, and it's just a really nice feeling.
The rising feeling was intentional.
Yeah. You absolutely nailed this. I love this so much.
Thank you.
Now, one thing that always fakes me out here, like I want to hit these things, and you know they can have health and MP in it. However, for some reason during the elevator, you only get health, which is not what we need because you know we have dash. We want to regen our MP more than anything. But yeah, as you can see, Kirthar is just absolutely abusing the photon dash here because basically everything but a couple of enemies die to 1 use of the photon dash. And if you time it correctly, you can actually hit 2 of them. Like, I think these are like the only enemy type that can actually withstand a single photon dash. But since you are kind of a running animation, once you come out of the dash, you can just use another running slash and get rid of them. It just absolutely obliterates them. You feel like a total badass playing this game though, you know, because everything just dies so quickly in front of you. Like in a very satisfying animation, I want to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that is actually the main draw of this game to a lot of people because it just feels so good to play and to control. And that is definitely one of the things that drew me into speedrun this game. We're actually quickly coming up to the boss of the space elevator here, which will be a bit different than anything else we have faced so far because it will be these 4 faces on the back of the wall, which are like on a rotating ring kind of thing. And obviously you have to destroy all of the faces in order to end the stage. So Kirthar will actually do a very particular strategy here where we'll do another float crash in front of one of the faces. And yeah, you're trying to get rid of the first one as quickly as possible, but not the other ones as much. Because the thing is, the one that will be on the top of the screen, you actually can hardly reach with your jumps. So you want to be a little bit crafty and try to damage all of them a little bit to get rid of them a little bit faster. There was the float crash on the right, on the left side here. He doesn't want to kill the one on the right just yet, but wants to damage the one on the top, so he can actually go ahead and use another geo crash, not the float crash, a geo crash, to get rid of the rest of them at the same time, and there we go. So basically, he does a little bit of the math in the top of his head to know how much HP each one of these has, so they actually die to the last 2 geo crashes here. And now we're actually onto the last stage of the game and the end of the run with it. And as we alluded to, like, the theme in this level is so good. However, I hate the speedrun for the stage because the stage actually ends before you get to the really good part of the song, which makes me sad every time. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and distract Kirthar a little bit so we can hear a little bit more. But yeah, this is apparently a space station. It's a very hard and very tactical stage because, again, these are all global cycles. Kirthar just makes a little bit of a mistake here. All of the cycles coming up will be off, and he has to go ahead and improvise a lot of it. And as you can see, all of these lasers deal a lot of damage to him. He has to use a lot of dashes, which is a huge strain on his research management with his MP. And he's just absolutely nailing this. Like, holy shit. And now we have another little part with these snipers here, which are just a menace because they are like positioned in a way that you can barely, it's very hard to make your way through this. And
let's do the thing.
Okay. He's gonna do a thing. Normally there is a boss fight in this room. However, with a little bit of manipulation he's doing here, we can kind of fake the game out a little bit. As you can see, we are not where we are supposed to be. There isn't even the part of a level to the far right here. And we're actually behind the boss now, which will be another refight against Shingen. And since we are at the point where we are not supposed to be for the game, like, Kirthar can just use the dark portal again, and the boss dies during the cutscene. And now we are on to the final boss of the game. This will be the fight against a Sunseeker in earnest. And this is actually the longest boss fight in the game. Another awesome theme that we barely hear anything about. So what Kirthar will do, he will up to Sunseeker and just do a couple of slashes with the Geo Crash that gets rid of his first health bar. And then, yeah, you know, just a couple more clutching slashes, and we are on to the actual second part of the fight, where Sunseeker will now grow wings and do his little flyby here. So we'll wait for him to go to left side, do another Geo Crash, wait for him to come back, another Geo Crash, and then a couple more slashes, and as soon as the screen flashes white, that will be time!
Whew. That went like so well.
Nice.
That was a pretty good run. I think the world record at the moment is like just under 36 minutes.
It's 35, 55, and that's on an old patch too, which saves a bit more time over current patch, which we're running on. And
I think you are second on the leaderboard at the moment with like, I think just a minute faster. If I
I have a
remember
36:07, so it's like, about a minute behind that, but super good run. I'm super happy about it. And I want to thank both of my co-commentators for for carrying the show for me here. So thank you, Aishma, and thank you, Dominic, for
having me.
all the talking. And
Thank you for having me.
And I guess we can do shoutouts for the Joey Masher speedrunning community.
Yes.
We have a Discord server for like all the Joey Masher games. This like Moonrider and Blazing Chrome, Odalis, and Oniken. So if you're interested in speedrunning any of these games, just come on in and say hi, and we are super helpful and happy to see new people. All right, so if you want to say any words.
It was really nice seeing the game here, and it's always really exciting to see games I worked on being speedrun. So
absolutely. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and stall a little bit because I really like one of the parts of the ending theme here, so I want to get to that. Once again, thank you for having me. Moonrider is a fantastic game. Go ahead and get it, and then get the OST to support this guy over here. But more important, I don't want to say more importantly, but as importantly is that you in front of whatever screen you're facing right now we're going to an intermission really soon. During that intermission, do whatever you have to do, like get up and stretch, grab a drink, grab a blanket, whatever, but be back for the next run. Because the next one is going to be Gravity Circuit. If you like this game, you will love that one. Because once again, Dominic worked on the OST for that one, so you kind of already know what kind of quality the OST will be about.
I'm gonna just sit here and wait.
Basically. But the game is phenomenal. It just released like 1.5 weeks ago or so on basically every major system, I think, except X.
Xbox.
So it's on PC, all the PlayStation systems. It is on Switch. And if you like Mega Man or any Mega Man-like game, this game will be your wet dream. I'm gonna say that out right now. It is fantastic. I've seen so many people from the speedrun community, but also just any Twitch streamer just pick it up and just instantly loving it. It's getting stellar reviews all across the board. And we have seen so many people come into our streams, like I streamed it, Argic streamed it, Bobby, the Blacktastic streamed it, obviously Gordon, and so many other people. And we've had so many viewers just come outright and say, this looks so good, I'm gonna go to the store and buy it now. And I promise a lot of you people watching that run in just a couple of minutes will be the same. So get your wallets ready, because there is no way that you're not gonna go ahead and buy that game. I promise you. And if you guys are not ready for the hype there, and I want to see you do all the jamming emotes, because that will be like 50 minutes of just pure jamming. So get ready for that. Get hydrated, get hyped about it. I want to see this room go wild for it. And I need to find more stuff to store, because the good part is still not playing this. There we go. Made it. Okay, sorry.
I just wanted to listen to the soundtrack for a moment. So I hope there are a lot of cat jams in chat. Thank you for this showcase. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, you've already said everything. We have Gravity Circuit coming up. But you have to, you can get your wallets out for Gravity Circuit, but keep some spare change for donating to the stream.
Yeah.
We still have a lot of incentive. We have bid wars. We have amazing prizes that you can win. Stay tuned for Gravity Circuit, and we will be back after a short intermission.